Hafide, welcome to Marianas Press. We're so glad to have Guam Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tenorio with us for the first time ever on our Marianas
Great.
Press program. So, Lieutenant Governor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here and Hafa to all of the people and my friends and family in the Marianas.
All right, I just wanted to start with perhaps some national news and some historic news that you've made. You were named as the first vice chair to be elected from a territory for the Aerospace States Association. Tell us a little bit about why you sought this position out and what it means for Guam and ultimately the region.
Sure. I was actually invited to be a part of the organization a few years ago when it was chaired by Lieutenant Governor Diana Primavera from Colorado. So at first, I wasn't quite sure, was this something relevant for Guam, right? And I got on the Zoom call because they had asked me if I'd come to the conference, can I chair a panel? And so when I chaired the panel, one of the presenters said, "Well, I'm really happy to meet you. Our company is going to be involved in the missile defense of Guam, and we're looking at certain technologies." And of course, my eyes were like, I felt it was an opportunity to learn a bit more. And looking into the organization, part of it really is to promote all the aviation and aerospace corporate initiatives, try and find a voice when it comes to government policy and government programs. And so I've been involved in the last 3 years. I was asked to chair the policy committee, and I was led an overhaul basically of the policy committee. The Aerospace States Organization Association has sort of rebranded itself and expanded rather rapidly. And so I was asked by the association if I would agree to be the vice chair. And normally, what they have is they have folks from the different parties. It's a bipartisan organization. So the chair is the Republican Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Lieutenant Governor Sears. So it's a pretty good opportunity to network. But for me, I use it as an opportunity to promote Guam aviation, try and see whether or not our entire region might be considered for spaceports. That's something that I think we have an advantage of. We don't have congested airspace like they do in many parts of the continental United States and here in Asia. So trying to figure out a good way to expand the economy and utilize and promote our organizations and our locations here, I think is something that I'm interested in. The other thing I found out in the course of this is Guam has, and I'm not sure if you know this, Tomas, but we have a NASA communications facility here. And so Guam and Santa Fe, New Mexico are the two locations that maintain 100% coverage, communications coverage for the International Space Station, which is a pretty cool thing. So I think that we need to learn more too about what's happening in the region and figure out how we can connect local companies and local jobs to all of this.
Great. And speaking of the region, I also wanted to take the opportunity to just chat with you about what many are calling One Marianas initiatives, right? We've been seeing that come up in the news lately. Perhaps first we can, and I know, Lieutenant Governor, that you make an effort to come to the CNMI. I believe last time I met you was actually at the Rhoda Mayor's inauguration on Rhoda. And so, first of all, can you just tell us what efforts are underway? I know that cabotage was a hot topic several months ago. Of course, the military buildup, and I know there's lots of opportunity when it comes to tourism and even visa-free travel between, different countries. And so,
Right.
can you just give us an update on some of those initiatives?
Sure. Well, let me first say that we consider the government of the CNMI the closest relationship that we have. And of course, we don't have to repeat, but we should, of course, always celebrate the very strong cultural and historic ties that we have. I've always been a proponent of standardizing our regulations and laws between the two territories. and trying to find a way to have an ease of business and a very good ease of social integration as a foundation for, what our collective future would be as we go forward in all of these dynamic times. So, airline service is such a debilitating thing when, the cost for transportation between Guam and any of the islands in the CNMI is greater than it costs for us to go to the Philippines or other East Asian countries. It really is a isolation that we need to break. I think that it undermines the economic potential of our two governments as well. And so we have been pushing with the U.S. Transportation Department. We'll have to refresh that here with the new leadership of the U.S. Department of Transportation. But we've been getting support from our friends at the Department of Defense to try and get some subsidy or some special air programming support that would lower the barriers and make it more affordable for travel between the Marianas. We've also been in touch with foreign airlines trying to figure out how we can utilize and see what kind of opportunities there are with the foreign carriers that are allied with countries that are allied with the United States to try and extend that service. And so there is going to be some federal legislation that's required to make things much easier. And I think that in the last Congress, we saw former Congressman Kilili and Congressman Moylan come together, and I fully expect that the two delegates from the CNMI should be able to come together and provide additional legislative support. And since they're both from the party that is in charge of Congress, I'm optimistic that we can make a bit more ground by utilizing, the team collaborative. When we go to Washington, despite what our political association should be, pretty much all the issues that affect Guam and the Northern Marianas are bipartisan. And I don't see, the partisan divide coming into play because we have to focus in on what our collective interests are. I think that there's also opportunities for us to return to a time where there were a lot of group tours of both Guam, Saipan, Rota, and Tinian, and having some competitive air tickets and costs is going to help return us to that tradition.
And on that note, Lieutenant Governor, I did want to ask about tourism on Guam for our audience in the CNMI. As I'm sure you might know, here in the CNMI, South Korea currently is the dominant market. What are you seeing on Guam, and what is the administration's approach to tourism post-pandemic? Can you just give us a brief lay of the land there?
So, it's a dynamic situation. We haven't quite hit 50% in recovery of pre-pandemic levels. And the reality is that the shortage of airplane delivery to a lot of the Asian airlines is causing a ripple effect. It's really a global problem where we have situations where Boeing and Airbus are delayed in providing and delivering airplanes that have been on order by all of the carriers. And so we're competing now for a limited number of airplanes with lower cost destinations. And we see that there is a big trend of Koreans and to a lesser extent Japanese that are traveling to places like Vietnam and Thailand. And so what we've done is we've been pretty aggressive with the Guam Visitors Bureau. The governor and I both have led efforts to talk with airlines. I led an effort late last year in Taiwan. I'm very pleased that we started getting some scheduled service or special service from China Airlines out of Taiwan, and then United returning to Taiwan in April. We're hopeful that we can get more gains from the smaller Taiwan market, especially knowing that based on global events, many of the Taiwanese that used to travel to mainland China are no longer doing that because of safety and security concerns. With the Koreans, What we've managed to do is convince our hotel partners to facilitate and support later evening Korean flights. So, normally what would happen is there's some there are airplanes that may be sitting overnight in destinations, and part of our movement is to try and encourage airlines to utilize them to fly into Guam at late night. It's not the most ideal time for tourists to want to go, but our hotel partners have been able to adopt policies that allow early check-in for tourists. And so that is one area. We've also seen where one of the Korean companies that does a lot of credit card support sees a lot of promise here. And so they've been adding their own private sector incentives for Korean travelers. For the Japanese, of course, we're all weathering the devaluation of the yen. And we're also seeing, based on some external review of the Guam Japanese tourism market, we're seeing a change in the types of things that travelers are coming in from Japan. They're a bit more independent travelers rather than the group tours that we've been used to. And for the Japanese, I think that part of it is going back to our roots, examining what our product is, making investments on public infrastructure and our cultural resources to give us a little refresh, but also getting out there and getting people to understand. Part of it too is airline costs. Right now, our hometown carrier has a high ticket cost from Japan. And so part of that is undoubtedly due because Japan is being used as a major transit point for stateside business visitors, right? Mostly military coming in. So we see little issues with airlines, but we've also been meeting with low-cost carriers. In this case, sometimes it's the Korean ones, based on some of the limitations that the Japanese low-cost carriers have based on their airlines. So airlines is a lot about trying to secure seat capacity, and our government also has been willing to invest in guaranteeing seat capacity and providing airlines with financial incentives to maintain or expand service. And so I would say that we're really bullish about we have an aggressive posture with trying to get airline support or airline lift into Guam.
I know the CNMI is looking for what it calls its third source market, which I think the conversation is around China and everything that Intel is involved in that conversation. But when it comes to Guam, are there any other source markets that you're looking at? I know Palau just got that Australia route. Realistically, what is the conversation about expanding the tourism market?
Well, first of all, the air service into Palau also is a plus for the entire region because there is a desire for more travel between the North and the South Pacific anyway. And even with the Palauans, right, there is a regional imperative. And of course, Governor Liu is the head of the Micronesian Island Forum right now, where all leaders of Micronesia are really focused in on trying to expand the type of air service that happens so that we can take a look at new markets. And so, even for us working with Air Nauru, who also has been flying in from Australia and into Palau and trying to get them to come to Guam has been something on the agenda. With the Australians, we have to do a bit more market research, right? A lot of Australians are going to Fiji, they go to the Solomon Islands because of proximity. And on that front, we have to be able to promote ourselves to them. But I think that there is promise there. I think the other area that there's promise is in the Philippines. And the Philippines has been rapidly industrializing itself, and the wealth of the Filipino people has expanded dramatically. And so we do make some modest investment in Philippines, But with Philippines, we also have a lot of medical tourism that occurs, right? And so that is part of maybe the strength of air support. And of course, we have two airlines. We're working on trying to pursue another flight into the Philippines from Guam and trying to work with airlines getting a nonstop flight into Clark, which is another place that we believe that there's some promise there. I think also that the additional United States activity, military activity in the Philippines, makes it smart business sense for more airline support between us. But I would say that the dominant area for us is focusing on our dominant markets, which is making sure that we grow our market share of Korea and are competitive against our Southeast Asian destinations, but also really trying to refocus and get a good strategy on the Japanese.
And
On the
just
Chinese, I'll have to say it's it's very sobering, I know for you folks, but China is a very, very difficult thing to predict. It's unpredictable. And that's because the US government and its posture on China is going to really, really play a major role in whether or not in the ease of access by Chinese tourists. Now, I think the problem that the country has is with the Chinese Communist Party, right? Not the people of China. But of course, in this case, government policy regarding immigration and visas, these are all going to play a big role on whether or not that's going to be a market that you're going to be able to pursue and get a return on there in the CNMI. But I don't see a Chinese tourists into Guam is also very difficult because of the security concerns. There is though a large number of potential tourists for sure, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, you guys have return service to Hong Kong, which is a plus for your market as well. That's something that we don't have.
and just a quick follow up on that. I
Oh,
know.
one last thing,
Yes, go ahead.
Tomas.
Yes.
The other thing we look at is which countries have visa-free entry into the United States. And we see that Malaysia is one of those, and that is a potential area for us as well.
And you would support, for example, it's not a new call, but I guess Senator Sean Gumatataw, is
Sure, we have
the
always,
Philippines.
our administration has advocated for more ease of traveling between Guam and the Philippines. And actually, our former Guam Visitors Bureau President, Governor Gutierrez, was pretty bullish in an effort there. Both the governor and I have also worked together over the last few years, trying to bring attention to and get the State Department to come in and play a role in easing. I think the prospects probably now look better than they have been before. And we have been very successful in the Guam only visitor visa programs that were piloted here and then maybe expanded. I mean, in the early days, it was South Korea and Taiwan. And because we have a pretty secure border, and I think we can try and navigate some of the concerns that the US government has about Filipino overstays in the continental United States.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, I just wanted to open the floor. Anything you'd like to share with our viewers across the Marianas in closing?
Sure. Well, I'm still optimistic in the future of the Marianas. I am one that really believes that we need to have a lot of more social and economic integration of the Marianas. And I think that our future has to be together. And I look forward to collaborating with the leadership of the CNMI. And also let you know that I am running for governor of Guam. And I know that I have a lot of former CNMI residents that are living here, some of them even part of our administration, and looking forward to campaigning for that and also getting support of my efforts for my family and friends up there in the CNMI.
All right, thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Tenorio. We look forward to future interviews. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.